Yeah, hi guys. Today I want to talk about how to apply for US citizenship through naturalization process. So if you are not have been born and brought up in US, so you don't get a US citizenship automatically as you can get through birth, but you can get a US citizenship if you get a green card, which means you get a permanent residency either through marriage, through your other family cases, or through employment, or there are other special categories as well. If you get permanent residency, so within 5 years time frame, you can apply for the US citizenship through application for naturalization, or you can apply within 3 years time frame if you are living with your spouse who is also a US citizen, so you can apply for US citizenship faster. I want to talk about the basic steps which you have to take while you're applying for naturalization. So guys, before you apply for N-400 form for application for naturalization, you need to have an online account if you are filing online. So first you create your account, you fill email, and then you will get a link and you verify your email so you can able to open your account under your name. Please verify. So once you click on the verification link, you will come across this use of terms that you need to abide by while using this website, and you click I agree on it, and then it will ask you to set the password, access the password. So once you answer the security questions, if you want to apply for benefit, like you want to apply for naturalization application for citizenship, you just click on this option, my USCIS. The next screen is about, are you an applicant or a legal representative? So here we will select an applicant. When you come inside your account, you will see these options if you add a paper file case, or if you have file form online, and if you can enter representative code if suppose you're assisted by an attorney or some other legal representative, or you can verify your identity. So we will be clicking on that we need to file a form online, and then we go to, there are different kind of forms, but which we need to fill is the application for naturalization, and then we click on start form, and it will ask to determine the eligibility. And so if we go on that option, okay, where one of or both of your parent a US citizen, when you born, okay, if that's not the option, you click no. Okay, how old are you? If that's 18, are you member of US Armed Forces? You check whatever is your option. Are you legal permanent residents? So obviously you have to have legal permanent residency, otherwise unless you are born US citizen or there is some special category you are applying. When did you become your permanent residence? Before, on this and this date. Next question, it's asking, have you left the United States in the past 5 years? If you have left, then you select yes, otherwise you select no. And next option is, have you moved in the past 3 months? If it's yes, no. Okay, then it gives you like a pre-qualification kind of a situation. Okay, you have been lawful permanent resident for more than 5 years. Okay, you are eligible. Go next to file your application for naturalization. You click on that, then you will just see these basic steps which you discussed before, and then you click next on that, and it talks about that you should have complete responses. So these are some of the tips they have, that they will save your responses automatically because it's a long application. If you're not able to fill up in one sitting, then you can just save it, come back in your account, and you can just open wherever you are and complete that application. Okay, let's start the application. So guys, this is I'm inside the application for naturalization, which is N-400 form online. So the first screen you will see is what is your basis for eligibility. Obviously they want to know what's your basis. First option is I am at least 18 years of age and have been a lawful permanent resident for at least 5 years. That's mostly one of the reasons for a normal, I think, applicant. But the next option is I am an 18 years of age and have been a lawful permanent resident for at least 3 years. In addition, I have been married to and living with a US citizen spouse for last 3 years. And my spouse have been US citizen for last 3 years at the time I filed my N-400 application. So that's the second basis, as I mentioned you earlier. That's the second way to apply for citizenship in shorter time. The third eligibility option is I am an 18 year of age and I am a lawful permanent resident and I am spouse of US citizen and my US citizen spouse is regularly engaged in specified employment abroad. So it's usually diplomats and people who work for government, so they have a special category. And then I am applying on the basis of the military service. That's another way. And also the other way, if you have some other reason to apply for it, you can mention that as well. And once you're done with that, you just press next. Next question is that you have to let them know if someone is assisting you in completing this application. If you have someone who is assisting you in filling application, you say yes, and then next question, okay, is your preparer assisting you with completing this application? And yeah, you mention if you have mentioned about yes, and so basically if someone is assisting you, just mention that. And then there is an interpreter assisting you with completing this application. If there is one, you just mention that yes, and then you click next. So the next is about you need to provide information about the preparer, their business organization, address, mailing address, and contact information, and then you can press next. So when you fill up information about preparer, interpreter, next question is about your basic current legal name. So the important thing is you should mention, I think, any names used even in past since birth, because obviously they want to check your record if it's under other name. And also you need to mention if you have changed your names or not. So the next thing is you need to provide the contact information for the applicant, which include the phone number, emails, and mailing address. So it's important to have a proper mailing address because all mails are coming on that address about this application. So just make sure an address which is safe, where you can have a proper access, you can use that address. And also they have some instruction about PO boxes that do not provide PO box number unless it's your only address. For students, if you are still financially dependent on your parents, you may apply for naturalization either where you go to school or where your family lives. For important thing is to give address, but if you victim of domestic violence, then you can provide the other address as well, which is safe for you to give that. The next is about your date of birth and the country of birth. Set of questions are about your immigration information. That first is what is your country of citizenship. At present, obviously, you have a different country of citizenship. If it's India, Pakistan, or whichever country, you just check the drop down menu. And then when you become the legal permanent resident, what's the date of that? You can see your green card, that permanent resident card you have, which is I-551. So you can check that. You will get a date and it's mentioned resident since. So you just mention that date here. And then next, you just exactly mention what's the name on the permanent resident card. And next question is about your A number, which is your alien number, which is also mentioned as USCIS number on your permanent resident card. So once you complete that information, you go to next. Then you mention about the social security number. If you don't have one, you just mention that. And then there is a USCIS online account number. The account which you have created have an account number which where you can look in your profile of this account and just mention that number here. The next set of questions are like kind of demographic questions about your gender, ethnicity, about your race, weight, height, your basic biographic information, eyes, hair, and then you press next. Next question asks you where have you worked or attended school full-time, part-time during the last 5 years. So try to provide estimated dates. Sometime even if you don't remember the exact date, just try to provide an estimate of the time frame. So they can have your complete record if they want to. Obviously, when they do their security check, they just want to make sure that you are that particular person who they are looking at the security check, because obviously same names can come up different people on their record, and so just to make sure that you are that same person, they just require you to provide this history. Whether you need to mention about if you have ever been served in the US Army or currently are serving in US Army. Is also important question that you need to tell if you were male and if you have lived in the United States while between your 18th birthday or 26th birthday, then you need to register for in the selective services, which is one of the requirements. But as it mentioned, this does not include living in the United States as a lawful non-immigrant. So if you have been a legal permanent resident and you have been living in the United States between your 18th to 26th birthday, then you need to register and show the proof at the interview about the US Selective Service, which is basically a draft that if US needs you young people who are even legal permanent resident, if they want you to be bear hold the arms and defend the United States, so you would be there to available for that. So that shows the proof of that. But if this doesn't apply, then you just answer no. So the next question is, and this is most important question, as it is also a qualifying question. You would be able to qualify for citizenship application or not. So you need to mention any trips you have taken outside of United States in the last 5 years. It also include any trip to Canada, Mexico. Obviously, it's outside United States, which any trip lasts more than 24 hours. You have been outside United States within last 5 years. So you just need to mention if it's yes, then you go to next screen, and then you just basically add your trip, and you need to mention when you left and the date you entered United States, and then you also mention the countries where you left, and then you just save that entry. So in that way, if there are multiple trips, you list all the trips. I think the best documents to look at is your passport, because you will probably have the stamps on it. And another best documents are your travel tickets. Just check your emails probably nowadays, because you receive electronic tickets. So just check your emails and check those dates for your from your travel tickets, so you can mention those dates, because it's important. They need to determine how many days you were outside uh, and how many days were you're inside, because if it's more than 180 days time frame for any single trip, so that will probably legally um, can kick your time out anytime you spent before that for your citizenship. So they need to just check that time frame. They need to check the proof of that when you go to your interview, and so just make sure you mention these dates correctly. Mostly it will be on the passport or your travel tickets. So another important question is about the physical and the developmental disabilities or mental impairment, because one of the requirement for citizenship is also that you need to complete successfully the English test and also the civic test. So if you have being disabled, mentally disabled, and or it impairs your developmental disabilities in such a way that for more than like 1 year you're not able to like read and write properly uh, any language. So in that situation, the USCIS requires you to bring your interpreter who can speak fluent English and also the language of your choice. So they should come at the interview so they can assist. They can probably take your the English and the civic test in your language of choice to meet this requirement. So you just select whatever is the best option for you in this question. You mention about your current marital status, and also then you mention about any childrens you have. Then you provide information about your parents, their citizenship status. Then based on your responses about your parents' citizenship status, it will request you to fill the information for each parent. So they have the record of the parents as well. This is another question, that you ever claim to be a US citizen in writing, like sometime people just apply for a job or some other benefit. You need to seek legal advice before I think you answer this question. If it's not the case, then yeah, you just mention no and move on. Need to answer another basic questions. Did you ever register for voting, or did you actually voted in any election? If that's not the case, you just answer no and move on. You also answer question about the taxes. Is there any past due amounts for state and federal, state, local taxes? These are the series of questions. So there are several questions like that, which you probably it's self-explanatory. You just read those questions and answer whatever is applicable to you. So I will not cover all those questions because there are so many. I will only come to you back with some important question where people probably sometime make mistakes. So you just answer these questions honestly and move on with your application. There are some other questions for crimes and offenses. So these crimes include like criminal state offenses or federal offenses, and also any immigration violation will come further in next section. So you need to honestly answer these questions. Even if so these question goes to the point, even if your record has been sealed, you just still answer these question. You must disclose that information, because sometimes people think, oh, my case was sealed, or I just completed the fine and all those things, so I'm fine with that. So but still you need to disclose, even an infraction, as I mentioned earlier, even a traffic ticket, that's also still a criminal violation. So you need to mention that as well in this application, about the date of that citation. And also you need to mention, even if you were arrested at any time, uh, uh, um, or even if sometime you're not arrested, but you probably have received some notice from DA's office that a case has been filed against you, probably that case later on, but probably later on it got settled. So you need to mention all those things honestly on this form, otherwise you will be kind of risking for a denial on this application. And also a moral character insufficiency, which is also one of the requirement, that you need to have good moral character, which obviously one of the example you give that through by being honest about it, and admitting all the things which the question requires, and then move on with your applications. Okay, so these questions are the immigration proceeding questions. So it's regarding the questions about your immigration record. Did you have ever been removed, excluded, or deported from United States, or you are like placed in any removal previously? Sometime you're like you go to immigration, because if it's about immigration court, then you are talking about a deportation process, like a removal process. So if you have been to immigration court, that means you had been in past uh, in deportation proceeding. Even if your case, you win that case in the court, you still need to mention that when they ask you, have ever you been placed in removal, exclusion, rescission, deportation proceeding. So you say yes if that's the case. Otherwise you just move on. But you or if there is anything pending at present, you just answer these question honestly, because if because USCIS will find about it, and you don't want to be in a situation that you have misrepresented on these questions and later you're in trouble about your immigration status. So the next section comes in. Here you have to provide the evidence which you need to attach with the application. And the application, for most of the time, they will provide you suggested documents which you need to upload. First is your permanent resident card. So you need to upload that. And if there are other documents, suppose you have said you have been uh, uh, you had some criminal violations, so probably the application system will suggest you to upload any documentation about that. So I think yeah, you just need to follow it self-explanatory, and you just move on with your application to like review and submit. So when you are done with attachment of the documents, so the system will tell you to review your application. It will just show you that okay, your application fees is 725, and then it will give you any alerts, warnings. Um, so just follow that. It just want to make sure, I think, your application is right, whatever you're submitting, because otherwise it can create delays. As you know, it's taking about 8 to 12 months time frame to process. So you just don't want those delays, because the delays will be for months, which you don't want. So hope you will be have a smooth application process, and then you just complete your signature part and you're done.